The sale price on that for
$400,000.
Yeah, 400. Okay.
There are rules about how TIF money can be spent, and TIF money cannot be spent for routine operations, repairs, and maintenance, things of that nature. So in order to use TIF money to support the operations at the school, we need to have another entity own the school that we lease it from. Our lease payments can be used, TIF money can be used for lease payments. I've consulted with Tom Pittman from Barnes & Thornburg about this a bit, but the easy answer to this is to create an entity called a redevelopment authority. That authority would actually, on paper, own the school. The redevelopment commission would lease it from them. The lease payments would be, we think it'd be a couple $100,000 a year, which we think is more than enough to pay for the utilities and repairs and maintenance at the school. Certainly right now it would be, because there's nobody there. So there's not a lot of stuff that has to be done. The utilities are fairly minimal right now. So the redevelopment authority is a specific statutory creature that's created by the county commissioners to do exactly this, to own improvements that are then leased by the redevelopment commission. And so it is a 3-person board appointed by the county commissioners. It's much like your jail building corporation. They would not need to meet very regularly, maybe once, in this case, maybe once a year to approve the lease or something like that. But then that would allow us to use the TIF from the White Construction TIF district, which is Elanco and White Construction, to help pay for the operational cost of the school, because we know we're going to have operational costs at the school. The school corporation, when it was running as a full-time elementary school, was spending roughly $200,000 a year on operations, not including insurance. I don't know what that would cost, but they had 2 full-time janitors there that were the biggest part of that. The next biggest parts, they have propane heat, so they had a propane tank that they would have to fill, and that was pretty expensive. And then their electric and water is not much. The electric is fairly high, so those run about $50,000 a year on just the utilities, though. So
is that already a TIF district?
it's not in the TIF district, but it serves and benefits the TIF district. So we can spend money from the TIF district on projects outside that serve or benefit, and having a child care facility so close to that area would serve and benefit that area.
Okay.
When does this have to be, when do you anticipate the authority being needed?
October. We can own it for a while, but just when we can transfer it then to them, but I think we'll probably close with the school corporation in October. We're just waiting on title work. I don't think there'll be any issue with the title work. I'd be very shocked if there was, but we ordered that a week or so ago, and once that title work comes in, we're going to take ownership. We're trying to ask the school, and I think we're going to try and get them to keep it at least through the grass cutting season, so that we don't have to start cutting the grass right away, or pay somebody to cut the grass right away. We did. I would tell you too. We talked about this at a council meeting. We have got unofficial announcement, not an announcement. We got an unofficial word from Ready, from the RDA, that we are going to get some Ready money. We do anticipate getting some Ready money. Not enough to do everything we need to do, but a nice start. We also on Friday completed a grant application to the Lilly Endowment. Lilly Endowment has, I think it's $70 million that it's made available through what they call their Gift 8 program. Pretty exciting name, I know. And you had to submit, every county could submit one proposal. So the the Vermilion County Community Foundation, we worked with them to submit our proposal on behalf of Vermilion County. They whittled that down. I think there were like 90 applicants. They whittled that down to 40. And we were one of the 40 that were selected to move on to submitting a full application. So that full application was submitted on Friday, last Friday. So we've asked them for another $3.5 million, which should be enough, we believe, to cover the cost of renovating the school and making it into a facility that would have at least space available, classrooms available for 156 kids ranging from 6 months to 6, and that would still leave one wing of the elementary school it'd have new roof, it'd have new HVAC, but the classrooms there would not be renovated. They'd be available for a potential tenant that did something that was aligned with or cohesive with the early childhood education, whether that be after-school care, summer programs, adult care. It's not going to be a liquor store or something like that, but probably. But
With that said, the funding is in place to make the initial purchase.
yes, we're using existing TIF dollars to make that initial purchase. The council approved that last month. We've already paid like $24,000, so we owe like $376. So we will cover that out of existing TIF to pay for the building, and it's not just the building, of course, it's the land too.
And is the arrangements made that will go to this authority, or will it go to redevelopment?
If we can get the authority created, we'll just put it directly into the authority's hands, and it won't ever touch us.
And is the schedule made where we know how the future payments and future obligations will be paid?
No, because we don't know. We won't find out about the Lilly grant until December. And they told us late December. So we're kind of going to be on standby till we find out about the Lilly grant. If we do get the Lilly grant, the schedule would take about 11 months before it was ready to be open, 10 to 11 months.
And what would be the revenue streams in the meantime?
0. But we do get, we have budgeted into our redevelopment commission budget for next year, another like $250,000 to cover operational expenses at the school, utilities, repairs, maintenance, cutting the grass, that sort of stuff.
I guess,
That's not enough to cover the $100,000 a month, you say?
No, 250,000. We budgeted 250,000. The expenses, when the school was running it as a school, they were spending a couple $100,000 a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, since then, but the biggest part of that was they had 2 full-time custodians and all their benefits. That was more than half of it. Since I got numbers from the school in like mid-year, and they'd spent like $40,000 on utilities and maintenance at the school in the first 6 months of this year. And that included filling the propane tank. They had to fill the propane tank because it was running too low. So that was the biggest part of that 40.
I guess the question, I guess he's probably talking about the same around, is we as a county, long-term, would we be responsible in any way for the operation of that? If
We're not. We are looking, working to find an operator to run the facility. We don't know anything about running a child care facility.
Why should that stop us?
Pardon me?
No,
Oh.
that was being smart.
So
But my question is, in the future, this project here, would it ever become a liability to the county, that if something didn't work out, are we going to have to take care of that situation?
Well, more than likely, our expectation, and based on our discussions with, even with operators and other counties and cities that have undertaken this kind of effort, is that we will need to support it. That if child care centers were good money makers, we wouldn't have to, we'd have them. So we are hoping that our plan, the commission's discussions have centered on taking some amount, like 200 or 250,000 a year, putting that into the building, and we go to an operator and say, we are going to cover the utilities, we are going to cover the maintenance, we're going to cover the repairs. We just need you to come in here and run this place. We will take care. It's like you wouldn't pay any rent, essentially. You can have this building, run your center here. Obviously, we want to get it high quality. This is not some fly-by-night operation. We want somebody of good, high quality who would come in there and run a licensed, highly rated. There are pathways to quality ratings given to daycare facilities. We don't have a 4-star in Vermilion County. We have one 3-star facility, but it does not take infants or toddlers. So we want to become Vermilion County's first 4-star child care facility. We have to find an operator though.
Was there a mention that Lily's or Lanco had a certain price they pay out every year in child care?
Mm-hmm.
That was up.
They supplement their employees. The number it was six figures, well into six figures is what we were told in a meeting with them. So.
You think that revenue would come in that direction?
I would like to see it, yeah, I mean, that would make, every
Makes
family's gonna be
sense.
different, but if you work at Elanco, it certainly would be a convenient place for you to drop your kids off. You know, we've gotten letters of support from, from Duke, from Elanco. We even got some from folks in Park County, because it's close enough to people who live in Montezuma or even Rockville and live and work in Terre Haute or work in Paris or stuff like that. There are a lot of people who could potentially benefit from a large facility like this in our area. So.
I live out in that area, and some of the people that lived around there was questioning what was going on. So
Yeah.
how can they be informed? Who can they go to say this is what's going on, so they know what's going on in the neighborhood?
Well, they're always welcome to email or call me or any member of the redevelopment commission. I think is pretty well versed on what we're doing. You know, our meetings are open to the public, so we're always happy to have visitors at our meetings, just like you are. We've done a little media. It's been a while. We did some with RJO when we were doing some survey work to determine the need. So, honestly, you know, I want people to know about it, because I'd like to get people interested in supporting it and potentially hearing about it and learning about this opportunity that we might have soon in Vermilion County. And you know, as a proud Ernie Pyle graduate, I guess, I don't remember having a ceremony, but I'd very much love to see that building that's been there for 60+ years continue to, you know, serve the kids of Vermilion County, and you know, maybe my grandkids can go there someday like my kids did. So.
I'd like to make a motion that that ordinance 2024-06 establishing redevelopment authority by title with some wordsmithing or changes in some of the spelling be approved by the commissioners, with the caveat that the appointments be made by the next meeting to that authority.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. I think it's a great idea, utilizing something up there, and especially being close to Glencoe, and I think it's a big plus for our county.
I feel the same. We're you know, it's not easy. It's going to take a while, but we've been pounding at it for a while. We're making some headway.
This is the first reading of this. If it's not unanimous, then it can't pass. It'll have to go to the next meeting. So keep that in mind when we vote, if we vote. And I'd like to call for the vote if we
Yeah.
can. Unless there's more comment, but I don't want to circumvent any more comments.
Yeah.
So.
Scott, on your email, you had recommended 3 members from the current redevelopment commission to serve on that.
It's a suggestion, but yeah, you know, the
Just 'cause
authority
they're-
would not need to meet very often, and
Yeah.
when they do, it'd be in conjunction with something the redevelopment commission
Well,
is doing.
I would
Yeah.
prefer that not happen. The reason being is that you're looking at someone that is supposed to be overlooking the finances, and the redevelopment is heads over heels into those finances, and it would be a better check and balance if we had 3 trustees, or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
overseeing that, as
Well,
opposed to
yeah,
the 3.
what I was getting at was, if we're going to do that by next meeting, just have 3 names or recommendations by
Or as
next
soon as
meeting.
possible, sure.
Yeah.
If we can't get them named, assuming we pass it tonight, then we would have to carry over to the next meeting
Yeah.
until we do have those 3. And I don't have anybody in mind, but I
Yeah.
just don't think it should be the 3 that's in redevelopment.
Yeah.
Plus, they can change every
Oh,
year.
yeah,
They
absolutely.
may not even be
Yeah.
the same
And
ones.
these are the commissioners or the authority members serve at your pleasure. So,
And it does change on redevelopment every year, right?
yeah, they were
Or
reappointed.
could reappointed,
Okay.
not necessarily change, but reappointed every year. And the trustees would carry over until they were 3-year terms.
They are 3-year terms.
Something like that. So that's a little different than.
It is.
So, anyway. No, any
So-
more discussion?
Part of the situation tonight, we haven't got 3 names yet, so.
The caveat was that we named them by the next meeting.
Okay.
It's fine.
I have no problem.
And that gets us in by October.
Yeah, that'd be great.
still.
Yeah, as long as we have,
One other, we had to set up, this is a transfer of property. If it's a transfer of property, a purchase of property, not even a transfer, a purchase of property, well, council has to weigh in on that, and
They did.
commissioners. And we have to, we agreed to purchase. I don't recall us
I don't remember.
agreeing to
No,
that.
I don't, Brittany, you may be right, I don't know. I know the council, we did last month, but I don't remember if I came to you and formally asked for that.
But it takes both bodies, does it not, to actually purchase property?
Don't
Well, we're
remember.
not purchasing, we're not being,
John says
If it's
so.
worth over a certain amount, we need an ordinance from the council that the commissioners are the body that actually takes the action of purchasing. So it's gotta be a joint effort.
Okay, we don't have that ordinance in front of us at this point, so
I can have it for you next meeting.
that's still sufficient time.
Yeah, I won't be able to be at your next meeting, but I can certainly have it to you.
Well, I'm on board, I'm just
No, it's okay.
trying
I-
to cover the bases.
I know we've talked about it, and I didn't even know about that statute till it came up the other day that John pointed out to me about the council having to approve purchase.
The only reason why it came up is because we had to do that on other properties.
Yeah, that's
so-
why I didn't know about it. Yeah, John pointed it out to me.
Anyway, I don't think that changes anything on the motion, so
Okay.
call for the vote.
you already got a second?
Yeah.
Okay, call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed?
Thank you very much. If I may, just so you know, on the redevelopment commission front, we have a meeting Monday at 10 a.m. in Cayuga at the Economic Development Office. We're taking the first vote on creation of the I-74 TIF district.
Good.
It will come before you, probably at a meeting in October, I would guess. It's got to go to, redevelopment commission will have to give preliminary approval. It'll have to go to the plan commission for a recommendation, then it'll have to come to you for a vote, and then it goes back to redevelopment commission for a final vote, public hearing. And so Lana's been great to work with. Our goal is to get the district established before the end of the year. We're going to have 2 different allocation areas within the economic development area, but the economic development area itself is going to be larger than the allocation areas, just like the one we already have. But the allocation areas will be centered on 2 spots on the state line, and then at the I-74-63 intersection, we've worked with Baker Tilly to identify logical parcels, and Lana's worked with a lot of property owners to identify property owners who are interested in developing their properties. So we think we've got pretty good maps. The area will be kind of state line, county line, river, and then it's a straight line across. It's coterminous with the service territory for Aqua sewer operations, though. That will be coming before you sometime this fall, I presume. But our first meeting and vote on it will be tomorrow, or Monday.
So everything's going in a positive way on that?
Yeah, it's been good, and Lana's been dealing mostly with the landowners and with Aqua, and she came to one of our more recent, a couple months ago, she came to a meeting, and the only issue is, there's always issues, the work on a lot of the impetus behind this is the welcome station, the need that NDOT has to redo that welcome station and get service to that welcome station. And she was concerned that NDOT may be pushing that work back a year or 2. Not doing it, but not doing it as quickly as we would like to see them do it. I haven't had an update from her on that. We've been working on getting these maps together and stuff. But we'll come to you this fall with a copy of the plan that she's prepared for that region. She's broken into different phases and things like that. It's very, very good plan. And we might not be able to do everything in the plan, but we got to start somewhere, and so we have a strategy and a vision, and we'll see. And that's a lot of the property owners up there, not all of them, but many of them are pretty enthusiastic about it, from what I can
Good.
tell, because they see it as a good opportunity. The lack of infrastructure has been a impediment to growth up there, and this is an opportunity to get some of that infrastructure up there that might allow that area to thrive, so.
We'll be able to use this redevelopment authority for
That's right.
that as well,
Yeah,
correct?
so redevelopment authorities, you know, if you do some project up there where you need somebody to own something, and then you just use, we already have the redevelopment authority in place. So it can be used for any kind of redevelopment project, not just Ernie Pyle, but this is the first time we've needed one, so hopefully it'll be here for many years, because we'll need this thing for a bunch of projects, I hope.
Do they have any progress with Mr. Wright about the sewer plant, attaining the sewer plant?
I think everybody's been fairly favorable towards that idea. I think he's willing, from what I gathered, he's willing to do that. So I don't know where she stands, I don't know where Aqua stands with its request to the IURC for that territorial certificate. I know we did a letter of support a couple months ago for that, but the IURC, you know, they move in mysterious ways to me and slowly, as far as I can tell. They don't need one for the water. I did not realize that. It's just for the sewer territory. So, but they've asked to have a territory that's, you know, several square miles up there, basically, the northern tip of the county. That doesn't mean they would necessarily service that entire area, certainly. And the project, as you will see in the plan, it does this in a little bit of phases. There's a phase that would happen close to I-74, 63, and then there's another phase that happens between the way station or the rest stop and state line. So Lana will hopefully be able to come to your meeting as well and update you on those things.
Is there a plan on board on this?
I've talked to them a little bit. You know, it's really just a determination on their part as to whether or not the proposed creation of the EDA conforms to the comprehensive plan of the county. I certainly wouldn't expect there to be any opposition to the intersection of 63 and 74 being commercial. It already is. You know, perhaps there might be some, what I've gathered is that they recognize that the state line is a good spot for potential commercial growth because of its proximity to Illinois, because the interstate's there. There is a interchange just across the state line. And so that property, I've actually, you know, they're redoing their zoning stuff, so they've been kind of busy with that. But I have been talking to them throughout that process about this, and actually shared our maps with them, so they could see what areas we were looking at. So, I don't know, we'll see.
It's really unique how that came about and everything. You know, for years I've been trying to develop that, and then the state calls us, say, hey, we want to put this in, you want to do something? We already was looking that direction, so the partnership with the state was just unbelievable, and then with Aqua getting involved, it was
been, you know,
good
great.
partners.
And it's an opportunity for them too to grow their footprint and grow their customer base. And that's always been where do we get the water from? Where do we get the sewer from? And hopefully this will be the answer. So we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have public defender cost recovery for
I
construction.
sent you letters from anyway, I attempted to try to get cost recovery for the construction, of which the public defender's portion was outlined, and I think we had a total except for demolition and one other line item didn't have cost for those, but outlined where it comes out to be around 55,000 plus or minus. Anyway, I forwarded this to you, but the state is, or I don't know, it's the state, but the Public Defenders Board statewide is asking that other things have to be done. In other words, we have to do comparisons to rents and so forth to be able to actually cause this recovery to happen before they'll do it, instead of just taking what our actual costs are. We'll have to hire somebody to do that, which means we got to spend more money to do something like that, I guess. So someone's going to have to take this and move it forward to be able to recover our costs on the construction portion, at least for the public defender side of the annex. Is there any interest in recovering that cost? And if we are, then we need to be able to come to terms with some assessor or realtor of some sort. It's kind of like what we did previously when we were looking at the purchase of the Eliana property at that one time.
So in other words, you need a third party to establish the value of,
They didn't say third party, but it's not my realm to do that type thing unless we have someone in the county that does that type thing.
but would probably be a realtor or something along
I
that.
think you have to have some credentials, but I don't know that it actually outlined, unless you read something in the information I sent you that said that you had to have certain credentials. I didn't read that in the state thing, but I kind of assumed that to be a requirement, but I can't say it actually said that.
So they're trying to establish some standard of the charge for using that building, right?
We are. We can recover a portion of our cost on that building. It gets paid out over a 10-year period, quarterly, I guess, but it equates to between $50,000 and $60,000, and whatever that number was I had on that sheet. So that's what I came up with. Again, there's two costs that weren't itemized on there that I didn't have, but anyway, if we're going to do that, we'll need to employ somebody, or if there's somebody in the county that does that type of work, then so be it. But I'm not that person.
What type of person do you think, or what type of credentials, or if we're trying to find someone to take care of this, what would you?
What type of loss do you want to go after?
It's not a loss. They have to establish what the going rate is for rent so that they can make a comparison to what we spent and try to recover on our costs for the construction of this facility versus what they would had to pay if they went out for rent or leasing of the facility. And it's not just in the area, or not in this city, but in the area.
Let me do some sneaking around.
And that'd be the 3-county area. So that'd be between Vermillion, Fountain, and Park. So it's not what happens in Newport, it's what happens in the region, if you will. But anyway, I think it's worth our time to do that, but again, we'll have to hire somebody to do that. It is what you might call a professional service as well.
Think you can get an answer for us by the next meeting? Is that okay, you guys?
It's fine.
Yeah, I
Or
guess the
come up
10
with-
years will start whenever we get it done. I don't know if it's retroactive or not as to when they actually took possession of the building, but it doesn't start before that, but maybe it starts then. Give us a revenue stream.
Right.
So we're gonna waylay that till next meeting.
You got my name spelled on the email.
Okay. Anyway, that's what that's about. Utility cost assignment, I did have a breakdown of what that is. Are we recovering, are we charging them? Okay, good. I didn't know if we were or not.
BEAD support letter?
That was emailed to you guys, the draft was, and I think they may have sent something, Kylie, was that yesterday, right? Mainstream, did they send something to you yesterday?
They didn't send anything to me, I didn't get anything.
I think that was their letter that they've given us sometime.
Oh, it could be,
ago,
well, this one
5
here has
months
the
ago.
county letterhead on it, so I didn't know if someone put that on there, but anyway, they had, I've met with them a couple times, I'd sent that information off to you guys via email. It's my understanding they were supposed to reach out to you guys to garner your support for a draft letter of support. It is very much needed. They feel like Vermillion County is poised to be in the top 10, top 5. With this BEAD funding, with this letter of support, we have 80% of the county that's not covered with fiber or internet. I don't have that document in front of me, but I think it was an investment of like $11 million. I've got that one, but I don't know if it has
There's no
anything.
financial commitment.
There's no financial commitment for the letter. If they are awarded, they do want to come back, work with the county, and I think at some point ask for some financial support. But the project does not need the financial support. They will do it with or without it. But if we do chip in, then more coverage is done in the county. So that's what that is. I would like to see us sign this letter of support tonight without objection, but open to comments if you guys have any or any.
I'm in agreement for the letter of support. We have that letter, it's a block letter, so it just needs some parts filled in on it.
Yep. Yeah, you guys were in.
I'm in agreement. I don't know if we need to vote, but I'm in agreement.
As long as, we don't have no financial commitment. I don't
No.
have a problem too. I think eventually that, you know, a couple of years ago, they had the county lined out to get funding to do the whole county. And then for some reason, the company backed out to do it. So we lost the funding on it. I think eventually, everybody's gonna have internet in their house, one way or another. There'll be funding for it.
Well, Thrive, one reason why we gave them the financing we did to get the backbone put into this county. if you
Joint.
will. Joint, what did I say, Thrive? I'm sorry. Joint, was that in 2 years, they had said that they would have the county boundary to boundary covered. Well, I've called probably 3 times now, and they have not returned my call concerning, well, they don't know what was concerning, but it was going to concern that. They haven't returned my call for the last 3 times, and getting a little bit perturbed about that, so. We did make a large investment as far as the county's concerned, very large investment there, and I don't think they're holding up to their end of the bargain, from what I understood it to be anyway.
And what is the, how could we get a report back from them that we gave them X amount of dollars and they've done X amount of work, so we actually know this has been completed, or
It's been difficult to talk with them here recently.
do what?
It's been difficult to talk with
Yeah.
them. The only time that they've gotten information from is when they were wanting to put in before we turned it over to highway, when they were wanting permission to put in cable on right of way.
And who's the official contact for Joint, do you know?
Josh Zerner or something?
He's the president.
He's the
CEO.
president. There's somebody else that, I
Yeah.
think I've seen one email of an update in like the last 2 years.
Well, actually, Josh is our contact.
That's who I contacted.
It is.
Josh.
Yeah,
The
the
other
one is-
one is just a manager for construction. He doesn't know the.
Yeah. I don't know who
business
sent
end
us that. Yeah, well, I've seen one update, but
I'd just like to know, you know, we spent X amount of dollars for doing X. It was mainly, it was not all over the county, it was mainly around the Cayuga area and south and north, I think, where it was at, which is fine, but, you know, if you spend 620, was it?
it
620,000?
was more. I think it was 800. I think it was
700.
700 or
700,000.
800.
700 even.
720.
Tim McCombs is the manager that
That's
we've
who-
been
Yeah.
dealing with.
Yeah.
But he's not he's the construction end of things. He's not into the business end of things.
Is there a way we get a letter from the auditors and that to request an update on that, or
I
just
can,
something?
I've sent him emails, he's not responded.
They've gone silent for some reason. They've gone cold, and it's not just, it's
Well,
from email and from,
What I'm saying is, there's X amount of money's been spent, where's the results at? And where's the
I
status?
agree with you.
We
But
need
what I'm
that.
saying is they're not responding, and that's not good.
And it's sat here for 2 years, I think, even after we approved it. So,
The time has passed, and without.
If you send me the number,
some
I'll
type
call
of
them too.
accounting.
Send you the email, the last contact that I've had with him.
Okay.
You want to try and call him right now?
Well, Dan Zuner is his dad, he was at Gormont, he's over the Rice
He's
project.
over at Plain, no, he's up in,
He's in Evansville, isn't he?
no, up by Carmel, shoot, that area
In
east of
2023.
Carmel.
Okay.
Good people, not,
Yeah.
but they're not communicating.
So we're in agreement to sign that letter of support tonight then for the bead. Okay. I was just kidding.
bring
Circling
us
What,
back.
you want to stay on business here
Just
or what?
circling
I gotta
back.
check one.
All right, Brenda's got
Unless
it.
somebody's on point.
Okay, moving on. Open issues, Thrive West Central Commissioner's
No,
recommendation.
you skipped one.
We're-
Approval of general election polling locations?
That must
That's
been
not on
the-
mine.
That must have been the updated one that you handed over there.
Why are we getting that at
Don't
2 o'clock in the afternoon on the day of our meeting?
ask me. Ask the
Is
question.
this not something that is known, like,
I've been in here all day. I know nothing.
this is not your issue?
I have no problem with approving general election polling places, I mean, as long as they stay in the
You
same
need
place they're
this?
at.
No,
There's
no, you
been no
can-
changes.
They are, they're the same.
It's just customary, we do it every time for election.
Well, I've not had an opportunity to look at the polling locations, but
They're the same as they are, nothing's been changed. There's been no changes. That's fine, we can put it off next, I'm just saying that
I don't think
everything's.
you can put it off, can you?
What?
I don't think you can put it off, then when's the early voting start?
October or something.
So we do have another meeting between now and then.
I just do get it done, but.
I know, it's just,
I know.
it's just the
I'm just not
principle
there,
of the
just
matter
saying,
of,
do what you
I
want.
just don't like it when people walk in and, or they, you know, oh, we gotta have this immediately now, you gotta sign this, so.
It was up to you guys, I don't,
Well, it's
it's
not
the same place
appropriate.
it's always been, so there's no changes.
Yeah,
It's just the principle that I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
an
I
issue with,
understand.
it's not the polling location.
if it needs approved tonight, I'll approve it tonight, but on principle, I understand getting it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon as well. So, I mean, if you guys want to approve it and just, yeah, I don't, yeah.
You guys, tell me what you want to do.
I can approve it tonight if you want to, that's fine.
I have no problem with them, there's nothing changed. I mean, it'd be different if they changed it or something like that. I do know some issues about signs in a couple locations, but the locations are the same.
If you want to, I'll make a motion to approve the polling locations for the November 5th general election as presented by the clerk of the county.
I'll second it. Any other discussion? I would say something, but it may, if nothing's changed, so it's old news. I mean, I understand your situation, Rick.
Yeah,
It's not my situation, it's our situation of people coming in
Yeah.
and we're trying to
agree.
get past that.
So, call for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Already made my comments before then.
Now you go to open issues, Tim. Yeah, sorry, I don't think I picked that up.
Tri West Central Commissioner,
It's okay.
recommendation, is this on the money for transport?
Well,
Did
it's
talk
all,
to
it's not
Paul.
just transportation, it's
Right.
the suite of things, but transportation was the one that upped the ante as far as.
One of the
dollar
updates
amount.
is Paula Margaret from the Health Department did say that they would contribute $25,000 to that, which is still quite a bit of money. We're still short quite a bit of money.
I think it's a recommendation from us, but it's something the council's gonna have to decide
Right.
whether how they're gonna fund it. So we believe that it's worthwhile, and I think we can approve that portion of it, but when it comes down to how it's gonna get funded, that's, council's gonna have to.
Because the substantial increase was like $90,000, or was that what?
Mhm.
90?
It all had to do with that, like you said, the transportation component of it. They lost, NDOT doesn't provide that funding like they did
Or
previously.
day-to-day send you the information you asked
That's what I was just looking at. Did anybody else receive anything from them?
From who?
Thrive. Because at the meeting, they were supposed to send some data points, tying like
Oh, I did
more.
not.
That's what I was just scrolling
That'd
through.
be good information to have.
And I never did receive that, because I looked back, as Mark had sent me something over the ambulance facilities, and that's what I found, and I have nothing from him, and that was something I was really kind of.
You did ask for that.
I can get hold of Bill Reynolds. I serve on the board too, but Bill Reynolds is the one that been attending the meetings. I can
Yeah,
get Bill.
and there's been so many other emails that just kind of fell between the cracks, I didn't even.
I forgot about that.
I'll
Yeah.
have Bill Reynolds.
If you want to ask him, because some of those I was just wanting to, well, just for our own,
Yep.
to look at the money, and just like you said with joint, to look at
It's
it
a
and.
matter, I think council needs to budget the money though.
Yeah.
And they're in the process of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to giving them the funding, it's just frustrating that 2 weeks went by and they didn't send that, because they said they were going to be able to get.
If you don't
that.
hear from me in a couple of days, holler at me, but I'll get that resolved for you.
Okay. Thank
Good
you.
Do
information.
we want to approve this or not?
Well, considering.
Does
what
the
I said-
council care when you're doing these budget hearings? Do they care? Are they budgeting the money for
They're
this?
looking at it, it's in there, but they haven't got, you'll talk to them about it tomorrow. It's in yours, so.
Okay.
Well, I was waiting for that letter of support. from
Well,
Paula.
what are we gonna recommend? We're up tomorrow, commissioners, budget hearing portion of it. What is our recommendation gonna be? That's really why it's.
I would recommend them funding it. I mean, with 25,000, you've got a partnership with the health department, and they seem it's.
Well, given that we don't have a bus service or a public transportation other than this, I guess we could go to rural transit, but rural transit doesn't do what they're doing with this monies.
Yeah, I have no problem approving it, but I still
Yeah.
I still
I
want that,
agree.
I still want
I
that
agree
data
with
so
you.
we can tie that to the money, so the council can look at that too and see what we're getting per capita, per, you know, whatever we wanna look at it.
Is it that Ryan, is that who this is?
Ryan Keller.
Ryan Keller, yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna put him on the line?
We can call, yeah, we'll do him and Josh
We'll put
tonight, we'll
everybody
do
in
them
the hot
both.
seat.
Why not?
I probably not, shouldn't vote on that issue since I'm on the board of Thrive. Right, what do you say, or do I need to acknowledge I'm on the board of Thrive and I'm voting on issues that don't with Thrive?
I don't know if that's an issue, you should make it on the record that you're on.
Okay, I'm on Thrive board of directors.
Well, we know that,
Well, I mean, for the vote issue here, I want to.
but we make those appointments, so, yeah.
Thrive does a lot.
It's, I don't think we have a problem, and it's
It's gonna make
not
council
that they're
decision.
sitting there trying to make money over this, per se. They leverage the grants, and that's what they're doing for us, is basically leveraging what grants that they can. It's just those grants have changed, and they're not funding those anymore. And they'll probably change again, because NDOT's under a lot of pressure right now, and that's where that funding's coming from. That they don't know how they're even gonna maintain the current roads that they've got, and they're still asking, the legislature's asking them to build more. So there's some real big issues there for in the next year after that.
We just wanna approve it by agreement then for tomorrow?
I approve by agreement, I'm fine.
I'm fine with that. And I'll just follow up in a couple days from Thrive if,
If you hear from me, holler at me.
It'd been nice for council to see something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, tomorrow you can let the other council members know that we're awaiting that data information from Thrive to share with you guys.
Okay, so we're recommending that they go to the council, right?
Yep.
Ambulance facility, property acquisition, I think that we're into the situation now, that same situation was talking about the other situation, just taking it to the council. Our last meeting we had that we said we was gonna take it to the council, I guess it's on the council agenda tomorrow, or is it for the next meeting?
Tomorrow night,
What?
it's on for tomorrow night
Okay.
for additional appropriation. I don't know if there's anything that's changed there. It's either they approve the funding in part or whole, or otherwise they don't. I think RJ was against it still, or you changed your mind?
I was just against the idea of, well, like I said last meeting, I mean, nothing's changed from my opinion of, instead of having it all architectural drawn out, instead of the commissioners doing what we done with like the annex. I'm not against the project, you know, itself. I understand that, and I understand the grant, and the stuff that Mark had sent was very helpful to, you know, read that grant application, so.
Did you see the information I sent about how we acquire property, or how we can acquire projects, public works projects? Did you read that?
I don't know that I've read that yet, but I'd read all the stuff that Mark had sent.
Okay, well, I forwarded the purchase requirements for the county on doing these type things. The CMC was not exactly done according to book.
Okay.
So to think that we can do something like that again is an at-risk thing,
Okay.
put it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, I guess there's no change in our recommendation at this point. It's going into tomorrow's meeting, so we can move on, I guess.
The grant funding, architect plans, we got our plans, we got the design, right? The design that we accepted, that you guys did as far as your,
We have a floor plan, that's it.
okay,
It's, all the plans need to be drawn out still.
right.
And that's what they're asking for the money for, so that they can finish and do a complete set of plans, which they can go to a contractor who could, I'm gonna use the word bid, but it's probably the wrong word, so we can find somebody who's gonna actually build the building.
Okay.
Okay.
Bid is the proper word for this. It's not this portion here is professional services, but that's so that we can develop the bids to be able to do this work.
The land acquisition up there for what we're making,
I talked with Dan Nelson, today, actually I
Talk
talked
with
with
who?
Dan Nelson, he's
Okay.
the superintendent in North Vermillion. One thing to keep in mind, come December 31st or the end of this year, he retires. So Dan is not there after this. I guess you call it superintendent-elect, or the person that may step into his position is on board with all this as well, but there will be a change in personnel. Anytime that happens, there's always a possibility that something will change. There is an election coming up, there will be at least one board member, and I don't know how, at least one anyway, that might change up there also as far as the election goes. So anytime you have an election, anytime you have a change in people, it doesn't appear that there's any problems with this, but if we don't have this ironed out by then, there is a possibility, you're going to have some different people involved in it anyway come January 1st. You definitely will have some people different, so. If we don't tie down the agreement by then, it's not that it will change, but anyway, it has that potential. So I would suggest that we can get at least the properties acquired before the end of the year, before we lose our superintendent, and before we have a change in the board, or the board of, and the board of commissioners too.
I would say definitely the North Vermillion property. The Fairview property, we might wait on a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, was that property. I don't know that, we do have an understanding with the town board. There are issues to be worked out, not that they're insurmountable by any means, they're not, up there at North Vermillion. But the details need to be worked out on it, so.
Have they said, have we set a size of that property?
I believe it's 1 acre, but that is subject to change. We do not know that we can actually tie into their septic system yet, into their mound system that they have there. It may require it to have its own septic system. We've talked about that, and they're understanding that we may have to increase the size of the parcel in order to accommodate that type of thing if we need to. That's not a problem either.
Yeah.
Again, it's a detail though, until we get the engineering done on it that finds that we can actually tie into that system, and it's economical to tie into that system. The same thing with water. We've got water sitting out there, but it still has to be ran, it still has to be engineered, still has to be approved, still has to be permitted.
My question is, where should we have the step as far as getting the paperwork drawn up? You're saying by the end of the year, we need to have the paperwork drawn up as far as acquiring the property?
It depends on what our schedule is. Our schedule was to build this, I was hoping to build in 2024. That's not going to happen. So now we're looking at probably August, September of 25, depending on whether we approve these plans or not. If council doesn't approve the monies for this, then
Right.
who knows? We're probably, if council doesn't approve the monies for this next time, we're probably into 2026 for this to be built. I don't see it happening appropriately or properly in 2025. Likewise, even the south facility comes into play, because if we're already a month behind now because monies are not allocated to start the Okra process. So we're 1 month behind. That starts in that submittal is in July for submittal in August, September of next year, 2025. So if those monies are not approved, then we're out another at least 6 month cycle, but probably a 6 month to a year cycle on that as well. That's one of the things that we were talking about with the Clinton Fire Department. Our agreement in principle, in good faith, is that we have a 3-year agreement there, and yet we're going to still build the north facility first. But we got 3 years down there, and for people to think, we negotiated this in good faith, that it was a 3-year contract. So to do different is not a good faith effort. So, but the majority of people right now believe that the north facility is more important, and primarily because of location. At this point, it's the reason for it. Or that's the way I understand it, anyway. Did I misrepresent anything there?
Nope, you got it right on. Keep going.
Anything else you got to comment?
No, that should be it.
Okay.
Like I said, I'd recommend, like Britain did, go forward with North Vermillion purchase, which talked to John and pricing and stuff. I think we put in for $5,000 for the property acquisition fees.
Should be 5,000 for that, should be 5,000 for Gerald's to start that Okra study portion of
It
it,
was a 60 for the,
for the
All I know
engineering
is that
and
we
the
did
engineering.
75,000.
Architectural and engineering
Yeah.
portion of it.
so that goes for John to work with their lawyers or whatever.
Yeah, we will, North Vermillion is, we committed to North Vermillion also that we will pay their attorney fees to do this, because they're going to be donating that property, so
Right.
it's, they're not, they're to be made whole.
Right.
Not to, that they spend corporation money up there for us to acquire their property, so.
The other thing about it too is if it's ever released and they take it back, they own it, right?
That's the details that need to be worked out. There's a number of different scenarios, but that's what needs to be, we have an understanding, but the understanding needs the details worked out on how that's gonna work. So, everybody's in agreement, we're gonna do
Yeah.
this, it's just the
Working out
details
details.
need to be how that will happen and it's to everybody's satisfaction. And nobody's opposing this by any means, that I know of anyway.
Good. Yes, sir.
Hmm? You opposed?
AOD ordinance 2024 in a hurry. This is second reading, right?
Second.
This is for time clocks.
The only thing I had to say was, with it was I thought it should be a harder statement, but,
I've also talked to the sheriff, so that's been a little helpful.
I think all of this has to do with
He's-
communication.
He's going to work with us on that. He's going to have to try 3 of the deputies to try it out, to make sure he answered some of his questions. He and Chad came in and we discussed it.
Well, I
So
don't
now
know.
that they understand it more, I think they're going to be on board. There's really no reason for anyone to not be on board.
I was gonna say, this makes things so much simpler.
I know.
To
A lot of it's
account
just
for these,
misunderstanding.
to account for these things otherwise
Yes.
is just fraught with error and,
Yep. Well, and he ironically had some errors. And then he presented them to us, and then I presented him back that if this would have been in here, this wouldn't have happened.
that's what I mean, this
Yes.
normalizes our
Yes.
system
It does.
to a common goal, so. It's just like what I mentioned to you, it's just like the copiers. Everybody has a problem.
Yeah.
Now, it's not as much of a problem anyway, so.
Yeah.
So everybody's gonna have a problem with it.
So on this, in section 1, I mean, John, I had a couple questions last meeting, and, because there, I mean, there may be some elected officers that don't want to use the AOD. Have you had any of them
So
say?
far, I haven't had, the only pushback I have gotten so far has been the sheriff's department.
That's it, okay.
That's it. We-
I knew you guys were doing them in like, what do you want to call them, phases, because you didn't,
Yeah, we couldn't do everybody all at the same
Yeah.
time. There's just no way.
so if one of them, because it says on here, any other form will not guarantee payroll completion in a timely fashion. So if they submit it the old way,
Yeah.
are we saying that they may not be paid that week, or I mean on payroll week?
That's what I was suggesting to put that in there.
Okay.
Yeah, if nobody, actually, I'd let them take care of their own payroll, and then let the Board of Accounts and let them pay the Board of Accounts back for out their budgets or out their personal bank accounts.
I think this is all just gonna, it's just,
Yeah,
the waves are a little high right now, and they'll calm down, and then they're all probably gonna go, oh, this is so nice.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
It really
the
is.
information and the transfer of information
It
is
is.
important in any type of business, and especially in government. The ease of transfer of information. So,
All the above. This is definitely the way to go.
So when will everybody be on the system then?
By the end of the year.
Well,
Yeah.
I think for me to get the sheriff's department on there, I think it would take a month to get
About
everybody on
highway.
there. Cause I'm gonna have to do training and stuff. with
Okay.
them. So I say probably at least a month for them, maybe
So-
even longer. The other people that are on, I just haven't, I had other stuff come up and then budgets, so I kinda like
Stopped,
Stopped.
and we're gonna have to restart again.
and I need to restart.
So how will it work for the highway then, since there's no like,
They'll have time,
A time clock.
so different
But
than,
it's an electronic time clock, it's not
They
like
have-
a
they'll have
card.
badges.
It's not- yeah.
and they just scan their badge, and they're clocked in.
you know,
Scan
so is
the
that
badge,
already,
clock
so is
out.
that already like included in the original cost or whatever?
And we
It's what
have
the
them, we
schools
just
do
have to get
now.
internet first,
You know,
that's what I was getting at, yeah.
when we was looking at the internet, I think it was horrendous. Well, why don't we just get Starlink and put in both of those places?
Yeah, that was more,
Yeah.
we looked at that.
What do you mean,
And
because
our
it's
company-
commercial?
Yeah, commercial,
It's way more expensive.
yeah.
Do they not
But
have a
what-
government rate?
No.
I'm serious,
Yeah.
you laugh at me, I'm
No.
serious. Or you can laugh at me anyway.
No, I
I'm
mean,
still
no.
serious.
Yeah, I know.
But was it like $20,000 or $30,000 for one place?
Well, that was
To
the build
rent.
out,
Huh?
that was to build it out,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
But they can go to, what is that called? Like a point to point. It's 500, it's still expensive.
Yeah.
What was it, 199 a month? Something, I sent them to you, I think. 199 was one, and I don't remember which one was which.
That
but-
was joint,
Joint.
and that was for Cayuga.
Okay, and then what was the other one cost? I have it.
I think there's at least two providers out there. There's another provider other than Joint out there on the highway.
We don't have a provider down here except for
Yeah.
potentially AT&T down at Garage One. And that's only because they may serve, and nobody's confirmed this, that they may serve Lanco. Because they're probably on a T1,
Lanco's
used to be a
gotta have
T1
something.
line, I expect, at one time. Hmm? But it's on the wrong side of the road too, of course.
So how would that work with the highway department? You just come down, you download what they got once a week, or how will you?
Nope, it automatically will upload into our system from here, so they don't have to.
Can this work off DSL? I know it's slow.
It's slow, but
It
you
is.
ain't got a lot of information to
It may-
transfer.
It probably can, yes.
Well, you're not in a
but-
hurry for this.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take all day to get it in.
That's not big
Yeah.
amounts of information.
You could, but then if you ever want to expand, then.
I'm
you-
not saying we don't want to get there, but
Yeah,
in the meantime, would DSL work?
I would have to confirm that with advance time, but I'm sure it would, yeah, because they said it doesn't.
I
use
miss
a
those
whole
sounds.
lot.
Meow.
Yeah,
So,
You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but
I
that's
do.
fine.
I actually had this conversation with somebody yesterday about it.
Okay.
But you know what,
Well,
no more than what the information is. If they had a hotspot on their phone, they could probably do it. I mean, It's
Yeah.
a possibility.
Now,
Well,
joint,
they could, it won't run off, it has to be connected in. That's what I'm waiting on, is connection, because then they're like creating and putting it and formatting it all, then they're gonna send them to me, and then I have to go install them.
We got it.
well, anyway, do we need to approve the dollars for those connections tonight or not? If not, then let's
We
not.
don't have to.
Okay,
no.
then I'm not
I mean,
willing to.
that's one of the departments that we've not gone on, but it's not a huge, I'm not worried about.
I don't see it changing here in the near future either.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not worried about the highway.
Unless mainstream comes on.
true, there you go. So before we vote on this, I just had one more.
Apparently, you don't need to vote on
Well, not that, I mean the ordinance for the AOD.
it. Oh,
If an elected office holder does decide not to use this, what is the I mean, John, I know you said that could be kind of a sticky situation, where like if an office, because we can't force an office holder to use this, right? We can't force him, even though, I mean, in this line, I mean,
I think it's just more CYA for Brenda if someone just refuses to use it.
it's something on record to say,
Submit,
okay,
because what the SPOA does is they say, what's the policy?
what's on
And they're
record.
gonna look and say, the policy is you're supposed to use this system. Instead, you wrote your payroll information on a piece of paper and gave it to a pigeon to carry to the courthouse and it got lost.
Yeah.
So it's not her fault. that the
Okay, so if any
information-
mistakes are made by somebody that doesn't use this system, it's on them because this is
That's
the commissioners,
intent, is to
okay.
Put it on the person
Okay.
who decides they're not going to use the tools provided and they're gonna do something weird.
I understand.
Then it's hopefully placed at their risk, they deal with the SBOA.
Yeah.
Explain why they couldn't use the system provided by the county.
does this account for the health insurance, the insurances and the other things that come out? So,
Yeah.
does, doesn't it? It's the whole
This is
payroll
just-
thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's the
Yeah.
whole, and that's why I went with this, I've been looking at this for a couple of years, and we looked at
Yeah, I
several
know.
different ones.
I just wanna confirm
This one
it.
is compatible with our financials and our payroll system
Right.
as a time data collection center that pulls into it, and then everything else goes out the other side.
Is there an upgrade to that when that changes every year? Cause our health will change every year.
They work together, we actually, yeah, it's
Okay.
overlap. Yeah.
Good.
One of the other questions, how much information is going to be available for those who can actually log on and do it to the computers here? I mean, can they look up their time that they have and all the,
How much time
all their
off they have?
vacation time, they can be updated, they can look every time
They
from
can
their
look at it right
vacation,
then and there.
everything.
Yep,
That's,
it's immediate,
that's,
and it's a lot more accurate.
It'll auto-calculate,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
every January, it'll know that this person gets this many hours vacation, it'll automatically bank everything again for them, so you don't have to go in manually and do it, like I'm doing right now. I have to get people on,
yeah.
which isn't terrible, it's just.
And it
time
has
consuming,
a
time
fingerprint
consuming.
on everything too, so that's a nice thing.
Well, and also, because a lot of the timesheets, when they get turned in, the employee's not signing them, and they're supposed to be, and then their supervisor or elected official is supposed to be signing them, and they're not. This is time stamped, and it shows that
It's
Kylie as an
approved before it
employee
gets to you, yeah.
approves her own time card, and then I, as her boss, goes in and approves her time card and sends
And
it
it's
to me,
entered.
and then it goes to payroll.
Yeah.
So it has the things that SBO is wanting as far as this.
DocuSign.
So it requires
Inter-
it requires the elected official be responsible for actually checking the time when they check it and
Yep.
verifies it.
Yep.
Well, they should have been doing that anyway, though. I mean,
They've been doing that.
I mean, even with the paper, I mean, the department head was supposed to sign, and I mean, it was supposed to be done.
It just
Okay.
doesn't
And
go
it's
anywhere
really
until they
not-
do.
It's not hard.
It's not
Yeah.
hard.
I can almost explain everything to a T, almost.
Can you do it remotely still too? Yeah.
It has it does
I
track.
know you answered that before, I
Yep,
just
yep.
wanted to confirm.
And it does track.
It does
It'll
track,
tell
and
when
it
they
has
punched
maps.
in.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what do you mean it tracks?
So like if you're on 63
Okay.
and you're clocked in, you clock in on 63 because you're not gonna be here right at 8, it won't, you have to go to the map to look, but it pings where you did it. So if you're not really at the office and you said, well, I was there, and you can actually catch people that aren't really. Now,
But
we
not
can-
everybody, don't.
Yeah, not
everybody.
everyone.
Most people do not use the mobile app. Most of them are.
And is that all
at the
included with
website.
that cost per year, whatever that cost is?
Yep.
What's nice
And
with
you
that
can
will be
turn
with
that
like
off and
highway,
on all
instead
the
of having to go into the office at highway when they have an
Right.
incident, that they can go directly from there to the incident, to whatever it is. Same thing with sheriff, they don't have to come into jail to do it, they can log in and do it.
And you
They
can
may
do
have to wait till they
hour-
get a signal, but.
Yeah, you can do hour transfers, so like if, like, health department, they've got a person that she works 30
Yeah.
hours and she gets paid out of this fund, and then she works 20 hours and she gets paid out of this fund. You set a schedule, it will flip-flop for you, all they have to do is clock 8 to 4, they clock in, clock out, bam, it pulls it,
Figures it for you.
don't have
And
to
if
worry
they make a
about it.
mistake, it calls an error out on them and say, wait a minute,
Yep.
you gotta fix this. So-
One of the other issues we have with county, with the highway department, is when you have these storms come through and stuff, and if they know what that code is, they can always put that in. And so
Yeah.
that make the accounting of that a lot more clearer, easier.
That's something we still need to talk about, the coding on highway with restricted funds and non-restricted funds. I
Yes.
still want to
Yes, it
discuss
does.
that.
I did learn that it does do that.
Okay.
It does.
will,
Well,
if you need.
You
I
can
still
do
want
it-
to talk to you about
Yeah,
it.
you can do it two different ways. You can set it if you know it's gonna happen before. If you know it happened after, you can change it before you run payroll manually.
I still want to talk to you about it.
And I can show, yeah.
Come on in,
Anybody
bring-
wants to know, they can come and I can do it then.
So any of the issue, and this is really, I mean, doesn't really have anything to do with this ordinance per se, but like the probation department, the clerk's office, the people that have reached out to me with concerns of like the timekeeping, I mean, have those been addressed? Have, okay. Okay. Because it seems like I get a,
Yep.
I'm not gonna
I've
say
had
every
David-
week, but
no,
like,
We've had David come down a couple times with some
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
This quite
So-
frankly gives them more flexibility to do things.
well, these were
Well, part of
more,
the problems were, they would do 8 hours every day,
I know.
but they didn't always work 8 hours every day, because they worked 2 hours on Saturday, but they didn't put 2 hours on Saturday, they put 8 hours on Monday, when they worked 2 hours on Saturday, but they only worked 6 hours on Monday. can't do that. It has to be.
And I think the clerks some of their hours wasn't being rectified in the system. Has that been corrected?
Yes.
And what was,
Their benefits, I didn't have the benefits in.
She just didn't have any.
I don't,
Just like out there.
I'm not putting the benefits in until I'm ready to make them go live and not have paper anymore.
Okay.
Because they're just getting used to using it.
Okay.
And I don't wanna have to fix it
View
all
everything.
again. So I'm looking at the paper, I'm entering them, but yeah, theirs is in now, they're good.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, the other thing, well, this is highlighted, not the beginning. I'm fine. Let's move
Anybody
on.
want to second it, or we ain't got a
Yeah,
second, right, yet?
Do we
Okay,
have a
make the motion?
For some reason, I can't find it on my computer. So, what is the,
2024-5 AOD ordinance, is that what you want to know?
yeah, motion to approve?
Well, but that's a
The only
time.
thing, yeah, let's go ahead and get the motion in there. 2024-5 AOD ordinance by title. Vermillion County ordinance number 2024-5, attendance on demand, or otherwise known as AOD ordinance, August 2024, should be September 2024. By title. Motion to approve.
This is a second reading, too.
Yes.
It's true that on the first reading, it has to have unanimous vote to pass. The second reading, you don't have to, you just have those majority.
You're in charge, you asked for that. Is there a second?
I'll second
I guess you answered my question about making it basically a mandatory, but anyway. Let's stand as is. Call for the vote. If there's no
Call for
further
vote, all in favor?
discussion. Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Why are you opposed?
Britain, from the beginning, I've been against the AOD time system, and it's not so much the system itself, it's the cost. The upfront cost was $50,000, or $40,000, I should say. The yearly cost is, Brenda, help me, 10, 12,000?
Yeah, about that.
10,
Little less,
12,000,
yeah.
and if we go back to that meeting, I think what I had stated was, since this was a difference in payroll, I wanted to see a reduction in some type of payroll HR, since this was part of that description of that job, and that's never happened, so the system I don't have an issue with. I think it's a good system, but just on principle of that, I voted no against this from the beginning, so I will continue to do so.
When you say reduction of payroll HR, you're talking about removing someone from the position?
I'm not saying maybe remove someone from the position, but if that position is doing that job for $38,000 and they were doing it with paper, and this is a improvement or an easier way to do their job, I think there should have been some reduction, and I had discussed that in the beginning, and that hasn't happened, so. But again,
Effectively, you're saying we have to eliminate HR, which I don't think we can do.
well, I don't think you can eliminate it, but I do think if someone's job becomes easier, I think you can look at,
Doing what?
well, I think you can reduce it.
So is that for everybody when they go to electronic systems for every office?
Well, I think that's a
Yeah,
discussion to
enough
be
of
had.
that. You can let us discuss this.
So I'm not sure that everyone has to explain their vote every time we do something, but I'm more than
I don't know
happy
if
to
you
explain.
have to, but
Yeah.
I'd like to know. I
Well,
mean, this
that's-
is a discussion,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I think I've said my reasoning.
okay. Next
Okay.
topic.
So the measure passed. Codification
Sign.
This one?
proposals,
Okay. Save it for later.
we're almost done.
It was a longer meeting than I thought it would be.
You guys had a big day, didn't you? You have another one tomorrow, don't you?
Dang
I'm doing it tomorrow.
BIS.
We deal with you too.
I lost my, shoot,
What are you looking for?
what did, there,
Codification
one of them anyway.
proposals.
Codification. We have two proposals, not that we have to act on any of them, but from MESPER and from American Legal. This is for the codification of ordinance and resolution and potentially any other documents. I forwarded those to you at some point in time, I don't know when. from both Esper and from American Legal. American Legal is, I think is like 7,500, is it? To
Yeah, I think that sounds
initially.
right.
And then Esper is in the 30,000 plus range. I don't know that I understand why Esper is as high as they are, or that why American Legal is as low as they are. So, you had to do your own reading to
Yeah.
make your own determinations. Those are two firms. It doesn't mean that they're the only firms around that would do this. American Legal is used by the city of Clinton and others around this area. It is a common known factor. It would encumber John's time, though, more than anybody else's, I expect, on this, to be able to bring these codes up to par and up to what the county would expect if we would do this type of project. I think John's already weighed in, but please speak up if you would as to your preferences.
American Legal is, seems like almost every little town around here has been using them. Now, as far as what my role would be, my problem is I create an ordinance and I pass it on to you guys, and then oftentimes it is changed, 2 or 3 times after I give it to you guys. And then a few years down the road, somebody goes, don't we have an ordinance that says this? And I'll say, yeah, I think I created one back in 2016. Well, what does it say? I know what my original draft said, but I don't know what got finalized, and there's no way to look it up. I have to call Brenda and say, can you find this? And it would be nice if there was a place where all of that stuff was available to anyone who wanted to see what our ordinances were, that they could just read them.
Yeah.
It gives updates too, and it's supposed to go back, and if it nullifies certain ordinances, it's supposed to update those as well. So there's quite a few benefits to this, of which we're, by the grace of God, as to what John tells us it is, pretty much for the most part.
I think it's definitely a good thing to bring in and do. I've read both proposals, but I have a couple phone calls to both of them. I haven't had my calls returned yet, because I did have some questions on the big price gap difference from 30,000 to that, and just wanted to talk to them. And
That's fine. I don't know that we need to approve it tonight, but we need to, I'd like to keep it on the burner.
I agree.
Wait till next meeting and see what other information might come. Do you have a recommendation, John?
I like American Legal, but that's up to you guys ultimately.
That's the one I'm used to, is American Legal, and the one I've seen.
And you said they do a lot of
used.
work with a lot of towns.
The Clinton and Rockville both use American Legal.
I'm not so sure Terre Haute doesn't also.
They might. And you can look on their website, they've got a list of all the places that do.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll bring it up for decision making next meeting.
That's fine.
Do we have the monies, though, for this? To do this? That's one thing I didn't check, whether we had the monies there, whether we had a line item for
For
it.
the American Legal, the 72.
It'd be under
50.
professional
I can
services
look and see.
potentially.
I can find, I
Like
can,
7,000?
75.
7,250? That's
If
it?
they can do it for 7,000, maybe we can get them cut down.
I think we have it,
If we don't, then that'll be another thing we'll need to look into.
I'll look into it.
I didn't ask, so.
It's written.
You're so good to me.
We don't have money for this.
Anyway, I think this is a big step for the county to,
Oh, yeah. Need, very much
oh,
needed.
very, yeah, and plus it's searchable, so if you gotta,
That is nice to be able to search ordinances online.
yeah, otherwise you don't really know they exist.
Like
I've
John
got,
said, you got to call.
I've got from 18 something, but they're PDFs, which are not searchable. You can,
Right.
I can find an ordinance, but it doesn't mean I can find what the topic is.
Yeah.
So you gotta read each one of them as you go through, and they can copy those in and make them searchable from PDF.
Is this a yearly fee?
There's other fees associated with this. This is the initial
The
fee.
initial?
Yeah.
'Cause I have
And
it-
every year after
I have it
that.
in my budget, RJ.
Well, it gets back to also like if, whenever you
Under
change
professional
ordinance or
services.
whatever,
Well,
they
I mean,
do.
it's kind of my office, I mean, the ordinances and the resolutions and all that.
Yeah.
But if you have new ordinances, it's so much a page, like $19 a page or something. So you're gonna have to make your ordinances brief now as opposed to,
One page.
Thanks for your knowledge.
One.
So that make that database searchable online, and it being online?
Yeah, anybody and everybody can look at them at
Yeah.
that point. I don't.
It's
Alright.
nice. I've not seen this one, but I've seen several
The,
at conferences.
the city of,
Nice.
the city of Danville was on their website the other day, and they have this. You can click on them and search it. It's very, very easy to do.
It'll be good for the commissioners so people can challenge you, well, ordinance so-and-so says.
I got the ordinance.
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay,
It'd be
Sounds
interesting to
like
see what
a-
some of these 1830 ordinances had to say. so.
That'd be kinda neat. I
Some
would like
blue
to read
laws
some
or
of those.
whatever.
We all do, all our ordinances are scanned in.
Yeah, they are
They're just
scanned
on
in.
our shared drive.
No, I sent them to you.
Well, that was nice of you. It's been a long day.
All right.
okay, we're gonna move on.
No announcements, none.
I do have one announcement.
Oh.
Very, very brief, I promise. DNR emailed me the other day. They have officially signed, and that is in the record, that DNR has accepted that property at the Eugene Landing site. Their land acquisitions manager is supposed to get with me the next week to talk about construction in the next 2 years of doing that landing site for the boat, or the canoe launch and everything. And then the second thing I had, really brief.
Does that mean it's been transferred to them now?
Yes, they sent a copy
Yes.
to,
Okay.
for, on record. Second thing was, someone from the Lions Club had emailed me tonight during the meeting, and when we had gave the Newport permission to use the annex property, it's the Cayuga Lions Club, they usually use it as well. Is that okay, or is that just at the, they asked me to ask, because they always set up on the annex, I guess, close to the alley to sell or to sell something, so, the Lions Club for
Lions
Cayuga.
Who came in and asked?
That was Newport, but I'm wondering if Newport doesn't let smaller nonprofits sit there, but they were just wanting to make sure.
Sublet, do they?
They might sell it. I just told them I'd bring it up because I wanted to make sure it was still okay that they sat there, so,
I don't have a problem.
You talking about over by the annex?
yeah.
We discussed that last meeting.
Well, it
Houses
was-
don't
So
interfere
Erin was
with.
not from the Lions Club?
Well, I think she's the Newport Lions Club and this is Cayuga, so I'm thinking there's more than one nonprofit that sit
What do
there.
you call it when you have a bunch of lions together? They call that a
pride.
pride.
Could be a
Got a
pride.
pride over here. do
Got a
you?
pride in that. Anyway, I just want to bring that up for you guys, so you would
Put
know.
that in the paper.
Oh, cleanup days, yeah.
In closing, what's the status of the property at the jail, by the jail, with the issue about the fence?
Oh, yeah, Ellis.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we took that off of the
Okay,
agenda, it's next.
it needs to be on the next meeting.
Next meeting.
It needs to be on the next meeting. Okay,
Countywide cleanup days this Friday and Saturday. Friday 9 to 4. It's usually 9 to 6. They're doing 9 to 4 due to Friday night football games at North and South Vermillion to help with that. And then Saturday is 9 to 1. So bring all your trash, clean up the roadsides. We'll be happy to see you.
Newport Hill climb date,
anyone else?
Newport Hill
That's-
climb announcement.
That's
What's the date?
October.
October
Fifth, is it?
4th or 6th.
Yep. Yep, 4th through the 6th.
Anyone?
Motion adjourned.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye. No discussion about that, is there?
No discussion,
Who's
done.
left all these here today?